Hello, everybody, and welcome to the LFC Transfer Room YouTube channel. My name is Stephen, and today what we're going to be doing is discussing some player options that we could have for our centre defensive midfielder role prior to this transfer window closing. Now, as of the time of recording, we've just signed Endo from Stuttgart, which is a fantastic sign, but I do think we still need some more options that we do need to consider, and I'm going to go through those options today. So, first of all, what we need to consider is what we've lost in the likes of Fabinho. Now, Fabinho was a fantastic player. On his day, he was one of the best centre defensive midfielders in the world, and now he's away in Saudi Arabia playing there. So, what do we need to look for to replace him? As you can see here from the chart beside me, you can see that McAllister and Szoboszlai fill out the top and the bottom of this chart very, very well. And then Fabinho really fills out the far left and the bottom right of the chart. This is what we need to replace to have our midfield balance again. More specifically, we need to focus on that bottom right-hand side of it. The defensive actions, the duelling, and then as well on the left-hand side of the chart, the forward passing percentage and the forward passes. Essentially what we need in a centre defensive midfielder is we need somebody that can recover the ball, hold the ball, be press resistant, and then distribute the ball in the short and the intermediate range while we set up our offense and go on counter attack. That's essentially what Fabinho did, and he did it better than anybody else in the world. So the first option that I've scouted is Cheick Doucoure. Now, we've been linked with Cheick a fair amount during this transfer window, and Cheick Doucoure is one of the prototypical centre defensive midfielders that you'll find on the market at the moment. He's over 6 foot tall, over 70 kg. He's a big, strong physical presence, and some of his strengths would have been his tackling, his passing, and his agility, along with his versatility. Cheick can play anywhere between the centre back role to the centre defensive midfielder role to the centre midfielder role. He can play across 5 positions, which is fantastic and versatile, which is what you want in a centre defensive midfielder. He can cover an awful lot of space. His tackling numbers are very, very good as well, and his passing numbers and take-on numbers and duels are fantastic. So, as we mentioned, we need somebody that can hold the ball, be press resistant, and then distribute the ball in the short and the intermediate. And Cheick Doucoure does that in spades. As you can see from his passing percentages, nearly 90% in his short passing and just over 80% in his intermediate, just over 65% in his long, but we don't necessarily need somebody who's a long passer. His tackles nearly won a game and over a 55% win rate in relation to them. With his interceptions and his blocks, you can see that he loves getting in and breaking up the play. He loves just getting a foot in, getting a tackle in, and winning the ball back in all sorts of positions. Most of his blocks came from his passes, so he really went and recovered the ball and then redistributed it. His aerial duels as well, near 60 of them, and just won over half of them. Something to be a little bit concerned about, but nothing overly concerned. Liverpool really got exposed against Chelsea with the high ball over the top due to that inverted right back role, along with against Bayern it happened as well, and during the pre-season and into the end of last year. It was something that we need to sort of try and figure out before this transfer window finishes, and somebody that's good in the air will be a good shout for that. So, how does Cheick Doucoure match up against Fabinho? Well, as you can see here from the chart beside me, he really does match up quite identically to him. His carrying is a little bit better, but his defensive duels, defensive actions, along with his forward passes and his forward passing percentage are relatively on par for what he'd done. So, what I would ask you to consider is more so the play that he had at Lens. He was a different player that he was at Lens than he was with Crystal Palace. I would have compared him more to Moises Caicedo at Lens, and currently I would compare him a little bit more to Florentino at Crystal Palace. So he can be a very, very good and versatile player that can cover both of those options. Second option that I've scouted out for everybody is Florentino. He's a 23-year-old centre defensive midfielder and centre midfielder. Player comp, I'd compare him to Moises Caicedo and a prime Fabinho, and you might laugh at me, but I'll get into why in a minute, and the numbers kind of back me up on that. His release clause does leave a little bit to be desired. It's €120 million, but Benfica have been on note as saying that they would be happy with anything in the region of about €40 million, which is about £37 million, thereabouts. His strengths will be his engine, his stamina, his interceptions, his tackling, anything on the defensive side of the ball. This guy is very good at. He just does not stop running. He will run himself into the ground for you, and that's something that we need as our defensive midfielder. We need somebody that will get in there, get a tackle in, and just run themselves into the ground. His tackling is phenomenal, nearly 2 a game and nearly a 70% win rate. This is genuinely my favourite option. He could very, very much come in and transform that midfield, very much how Virgil van Dijk came in and transformed our defence after purchasing him. And I think this is an option we can't really miss out on. His passing numbers as well, nearly 90% overall, over 90% for the short and the intermediate range. He's everything you could ask for in relation to your centre defensive midfielder. He does differ from Cheick Doucoure in one way, however. While Cheick Doucoure loves bringing the ball up himself and winning his take-ons, and that's how high his take-on percentage is, Florentino Luis loves taking the ball and passing it to progress it up the pitch. And you'll see that in a moment when I show you the chart in his comparison to Fabinho. His aerial duels as well is something that we really need to take note of. Nearly 60 aerial duels, similar numbers to Doucoure, but much higher win percentage. Over 60% of his aerial duels won. And as I mentioned, we need somebody in there to be able to do that, to stop the threat of the long ball coming over the top of us. So how does Florentino Luis stack up against Fabinho? Well, pretty much identically, if not better. As you can see from the chart, the only thing that he does massively better than Fabinho would have been his progressive passing. His defensive actions and his duels are around the same percentage. His forward passing numbers are higher, and his forward passing percentage is just that slight bit higher. His key passes, however, is just a slight bit lower. But if you wanted to go and sell Fabinho for £40 million and then go buy him again at the age of 23 for the same price, this is your guy to do it. This is the centre defensive midfielder we should be chasing after. And if we don't get him, we will be kicking ourselves in a number of years when he's playing for somebody like Real Madrid or Man City or Chelsea or Barcelona or Man United or one of the big boys that just comes in and buys him. And unfortunately, we will really be kicking ourselves if that happens. The third option, and more of an alternative option that I've decided to pick, is Youssouf Fofana. I did some scouting on Youssouf Fofana, who plays for AS Monaco, 23-year-old centre defensive midfielder, centre midfielder, who can also cover some centre-back role as well. I would consider him more towards the likes of a Tchouaméni, more of an attacking midfielder that is a defensive midfielder as well. At the same time, he moves the ball with his body and his ball movement, like moving himself, his dribbling and his take-ons rather than his passing. His passing numbers aren't bad. His short and intermediate all over 80%. Nearly 90% in relation to his intermediate. His tackles just over half one and just over one a game. His interceptions and his blocks, massive numbers there, over 100 combined. Nearly half of them are from passes. So again, loves getting in and breaking up to play. He does have one defensive error, which is a knock against him against the other two, unfortunately. Massive amount of take-ons, nearly 100, but his numbers don't necessarily give much to be desired on that. Just literally over slightly half of them won. Not something you really require. His duels, however, in the air, that's something we do need to be a little bit concerned about. This is where I would knock him and land him lower than the likes of Doucoure and Florentino Luis, just because of his height. He's 5'9". The other two guys are over the 6 foot mark. I think that would play well into their hands and how good they could be in the Premier League with that. I don't think he's the next, Youssouf Fofana, that is the next coming of N'Golo Kante, who can play as a short centre defensive midfielder. There's never been another one like him, unfortunately. So I think it would be a bit of a risk, and it will be a bit of a different type of centre defensive midfielder that we will be bringing in. With how he matches up against Fabinho, as you can see from the chart, his carrying is just second to none compared to him, but that's only the carrying numbers. How many times he carried the ball forward doesn't bring into factor how many times he's lost the ball. And as we've seen from the numbers, he only wins about half of them. With regard to his progressive passing percentage, not that high either compared to Fabinho, but his his forward passing percentage, that is, and his forward passing numbers really don't match up exactly the same as Fabinho. His defensive actions, however, and his duels do somewhat match up to Fabinho. So they're the three midfielders that we have scouted for you guys and done an in-depth analysis on all of them. I genuinely think that Florentino Luis is prime Fabinho at 23 years old, and he's only going to get better. And I do genuinely think for a payment of just under £40 million, which is what we got for Fabinho anyway, we really should be looking into this. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to watch our player analysis. If you have liked the video, please do like and subscribe. If you'd like some other videos like this, please do let us know in the comments. And if you have any other players that you'd like us to look into, please do put them in the comments below as suggestions. If you've already liked and subscribed to us, please do share the video, as more views gets us more positive feedback, which gets us more content out to you guys, and that's what we really want to do. So thank you so much for watching, guys, and I hope you have a wonderful day.